Hello, welcome to the Cinema Savvy Movie Podcast, the channel for film reviews, discussions, and everything in between. I'm Chris Garner, joined by my co-host Tate in the Hour, and today we're going to be sort of getting really into the Oscar selection of films this year, and we are sort of kicking off with Brooklyn. This one was an interesting one because you had saw this one before me, and you basically just came back and you were raving this movie up. You were saying that, Chris, you have to see this movie. This could be one of the underdogs at the Oscars. It's sort of getting hype, and literally just before we hit record, you sort of went through the Rotten Tomatoes, like critics and viewers and everything like that.
Yeah, and it's 100% for top critics, 98% for all critics, and that's big. And they're all fresh, and that's a lot of critics loving it.
So this movie originally premiered at the 2015 Sundance Film Festival, and then again before we hit record, you sort of said that it was a bunch of studios like bidding over
the Weinstein Company, Fox Searchlight, who got it in the end, and Focus Pictures. They were all fighting for it, all bidding for it, and Fox Searchlight got it in the end. So it had already garnered a lot of attention from that. But I'd seen it kind of slip underneath the radar. I mean, when I saw it, I didn't really think, I didn't go out of my house like going, I'm going to watch Brooklyn today. No, I just went down to the cinema, saw what was on, and thought, you know what? I don't know what this is about. I don't know what it's going to be like, but I'll watch it anyway. And by God, I was just shocked by the end of it.
Yeah, and that's when you sort of said, Chris, get out and see this movie now. You need to see it.
I put it on my top 5 of the year if that wasn't good enough regards to it. And genuinely, I've seen it again. Tempted to put it higher. I'm not sure where it would fit, but it's a good film.
It's a great drama piece, and usually sort of going off my sort of views on Me, Earl and the Dying Girl, independent films aren't really my thing, you know. Like I usually go for, not that I always go for the big loud blockbusters, but they tend to be more my thing. Like,
I'm sorry, but did you use the phrase that you'd rather go see In the Heart of the Sea again than see Me, Earl and the Dying Girl?
Possibly.
By the way, I had one of our subscribers comment to me saying that it was a beautiful film and that your opinion's been slightly off recently.
Apparently. So it's sort of like all started with Star Wars and it's just been downhill from there ever since. But no, so this one, I sort of did a bit of research before going in to see what it was sort of about, and you can go into like the plot synopsis in a minute, but right there it sort of had my interest a bit more, but I was still really apprehensive. I thought, this is just going to be Oscar bait movie. But no, so I like sort of saw the plot synopsis of this movie, and I sort of knew what I might be getting in for. It's a drama-based movie. Again, as I said, it's not really my thing, but so I sort of sat in that cinema with like an open mind and just expected to be enthralled by like the characters and stuff, and I didn't quite expect it to hit on this like emotional level with me. I was just hooked from beginning to end. It's a very simple story, but it's a very effective one, and it has a lot of emotions going in it with the character. And I love how, first and foremost, that Saoirse Ronan is, I think I'm pronouncing it right. I think
that's right. Saoirse
Ronan. I love that the film always keeps her front and center all throughout the film. She is the character you follow from the beginning of the film right up until the end, and you see that change in her, and I love that fact. And you said that there's a very good chance she might be going up for Best Lead Actress, and after seeing this movie, I definitely think she deserves that.
I have seen a lot of the Oscar picks already, because most of the Oscar picks, they will put out a pre-screening of the film beforehand, just so that it gets like it can be put forward to be an Oscar pick. And I reckon from the films that I've seen so far that this is the lead contender for Best Actress. And I've seen Carol, which is 2 brilliant like acting triumphs in one film, and the acting done here in this film, the way that she brings across her character and the emotion that comes across from it, it's better. And from, I'm not sure how old Saoirse Ronan is, 1994, so she's only 20 years old, or 21? 21? Yeah, 21 years
21,
old.
yeah.
this is a very mature performance, and it is very, very good for the future for her. Like,
definitely,
amazing.
And I'd only seen her in The Lovely Bones before this movie, and I didn't realise it was her.
Did you not watch Grand Budapest?
I still haven't seen Grand Budapest, actually. I need to catch up on that. There's a lot of Oscar ones from last year I still need to catch up on, like That Theory of Everything, Selma, loads of films from last year. I'm trying to focus on the ones from this year to get it out of the way. But no, so I watched this movie and then I sort of went back and read through like the wiki articles and stuff, like checked what the actors have done before, and then I was like, oh, she was the chick from The Lovely Bones. Not a great movie, but I thought her performance in that was brilliant. And then you see her in this, and even from that movie, she's just progressed so much. As you said, like her career after this, if this does pick up all the Oscar traction that we think it will, I mean, her career is just going to skyrocket. So before we get into the review, do you want to just sort of like give like a rough plot synopsis for anyone who hasn't seen Brooklyn and doesn't know what it's about, and then they'll sort of have more context?
I'm going off IMDb here because they tend to give the least spoiler-heavy plot synopsis they can, but an Irish immigrant lands in 1950s Brooklyn, where she quickly falls into a new romance. When her past catches up with her, however, she must choose between the two countries that their lives exist within.
Yeah, and it's, as I said, it's like a really, really simple premise, like Irish girl, and I'm not going to go into many spoilers here. As I said, this is the spoiler-free section, and then we'll warn you when we get into spoilers. But at the start, I think it's mostly done without words as well. Like, just at a glance, you can see that she is unfulfilled and unhappy with her life in Ireland. Like, you can tell she wants more. She doesn't want to be like everyone else. Like, probably her mum, who was probably, you know, born and raised in Ireland. She's lived there all her life. She's never actually got out of the country.
And you can see that with the people who she's working with in the shop that she's there with. She doesn't want to be there forever. She doesn't like it. And yeah, she decides to take an opportunity when she's offered it.
And I think all of us go through this sort of stage at some point in our lives as well. Like, we get bored of where, like, if most of us have like grown up in one place, for example, we do get very tired of it and we do get restless and want to move on to other places. But we also have to cast our mind back to the time that this is set in as well, the 1950s. I mean, sort of expectations of people and like family, and looking at, like, they say to her, like, if you leave, your mum's gonna have no one really. I mean, I know that the sister's there, but you know, you're sort of abandoning them. So it was that hard family regulations that were placed and expectations, and like even like marriage, like at this age, like that was the norm to get married at like around 20 years old. And I know some people still do, but obviously times have changed now. It's a lot more progressive. Like, people can just get married whenever they want, but it is a factor that is very forced upon, especially like girls at the time as well. And I like that she's sort of wrestling with that and wants to be individual and wants to do her own thing with it.
Well, from the start of the film, like, you immediately gain a connection with her character. And I know that we're only talking about Saoirse Ronan at the moment. That's because at the start of the film, she really is the only person who you can focus on.
Yeah.
And like, from the very, very start, you can see, oh, okay, starting to feel slightly sorry for her. Not in like a pity kind of way, but you can understand why she would want to leave, and you can understand the repercussions of that. And just at the start of the film, I believe it's her sister says, look, I know this priest who lives in Brooklyn in New York. He can get you a job over there. He can get you settled over there. He can actually give you a better life. And I mean, I've experienced that whole, do you want to go off and get a better life thing? And I mean, I've gone and done it. I've been tempted before as well to go and do it for a second time. And that immediately connects with you on any level, because everyone would have gone through that. I feel like the only people who wouldn't maybe appreciate this part of the film would probably be maybe people under the age of 15.
Yeah.
Like, where the decisions at that moment in time had kind of been made by their parents and stuff like that. As soon as you start to make your own decisions, that's when you kind of, it plays in your mind on what you really want to do. And she basically gets offered this opportunity to go off to a mystic land where, from what she's heard and what a lot of people have that assumption of America, dreams come true. And, well, we can't really say whether they do or not, but it is a very good story from there on in.
Yeah, and there's that shot where she's sort of departing on the boat, and it really reminded me sort of of Titanic. Again, that was another example where they wanted to go to America to start new lives and everything like that. Um, but I like that. See, I'm delving into spoilers now, but should we talk about some of the other characters as well? Like,
let's talk about who she meets when she's in New York. Because she gets settled in a boarding house, and the mistress of the boarding house just so happens to be Julie Walters.
She is amazing in this show. You could tell she's having so much fun with the role. She's this really biting, massively religious, like proper, play by the rules and the good book and everything like that. She
Absolutely
is
brilliant. And
just
I've
how
always
she
loved Julie
puts down
Walters.
everyone at the yeah, she's fantastic. Yeah. And sort of alongside her as well, there's Jim Broadbent, who plays the priest. And Jim Broadbent's just so likable. He never really plays any kind of different characters in any film he's in.
You've obviously never seen
really
Cloud
nice
Atlas.
I've seen Cloud Atlas, yeah.
He plays six different characters in that film.
But he's still very much Jim Broadbent. Like,
Yeah,
every time
true.
I see him, I'm like, that's Jim Broadbent. But he doesn't really get a lot to do in this film. He's sort of in a few scenes. He's in a key scene which I want to talk about in the spoilers, which almost actually moved me to tears towards like the quarter-way mark in this film. But so you've got a really strong lead cast, but also the support cast as well. Also, really, really quickly, random actress I did not expect to see in this film, Emily Bett Rickards. For anyone who watches the TV show Arrow, you'll know that she plays Felicity Smoke, who's one of the main characters in that show. I did not know she'd sort of like broke into films and stuff, so it was really sort of like, oh, okay, I guess she's at the table as well. She sort of just plays one of the women at this sort of boarding house that's run by Julie Walters. But no, it was just kind of bizarre to see her in a movie. But we'll get to sort of the other two main players now, if you like. So we'll start off with Tony.
So Tony is an Italian guy. Like, he speaks with this accent. He's from New York. Well, actually, he is from Brooklyn himself. But I believe like he goes to the Irish dance, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Like, he's like an Irish guy he's an Italian guy going to the Irish dance because he's got a thing for, like, Irish girls.
Yeah, and if this was the 70s, this character would probably be played by John Travolta.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a very Saturday Night Fever aspect going to him. I think he's a bit more shy and a bit more meek and mild than his character in that, but
the shyness is brilliant in this. Like, when he gets introduced, he kind of waddles over and kind of not really smooth talking, but he just acts natural. And it feels
genuine.
Natural. Yeah, it feels genuine. That's something that flows all the way through this film. It feels genuine, and I don't know whether the story actually happened or not, and whether it's adapted. I believe it was adapted from...
It's a novel.
It's a novel.
Yeah.
Whether the novel is actually based off anything, I don't know. Maybe past experiences or anything, but it just feels genuine. It just feels genuine, and it's brilliant. But Tony as a character, you get on with him immediately. Like, oh, go on.
I was just going to say, and the relationship's a fairly slow burn as well. Like, again, I don't want to give too much away, but you see that the decision in Saoirse Ronan's head where she's deciding whether she actually wants to be with this guy or not. Like, he comes across as a little bit awkward sometime, maybe a little too forward, like right from the off, and you can see it. Like, she does that bit where she's just like lying in bed, she's just staring up at the ceiling, and you almost feel that dread and like confusion with the characters themselves. Like, when she goes back up to Tony and she like says, look, I need to talk to you about something, you do get that sinking feeling in your stomach, like probably what Tony had. Like, I guess you had the same reaction as well at that bit. Yeah.
Very similar to the visit sinking feeling, actually, that I had in that scene.
Nothing will be ever as sinking as that feeling. Oh my god.
No, because she's like, whenever someone hears the sentence, look, I've got to talk to you, especially when it starts off with look, that is never going to end up well. Never. And somehow it kind of does. Yeah. And his reaction is absolutely priceless, because he goes, oh my god, okay.
Yeah.
Steady on now. I thought you were going to break up with me and stuff like that. But, you immediately get that kind of connection between these two characters, but it is a slow burn, and that really does help with the film's pacing. As you can tell in her mind, she's still kind of stuck back in Ireland, like part of her is. And she manages to keep the letters up with her sister and her mum, and that kind of plays in that way because it makes her feel homesick.
Yeah.
Which you would obviously feel. And I thought the entire film was going to be about being homesick. And it kind of was.
It's a big part of it, definitely. But I like that this film, it doesn't just, limit itself to one emotion.
No.
It sort of runs the gamut of everything. It goes from, homesickness, there's romance, there's loss, there's, regret and things like that. It does really sort of go through like a whole obstacle course of emotions for the main character, and that's the sign of a good movie and compelling characters, where they go through so many ordeals and you go on that journey with them to the point where at the end, and I don't want to ruin the ending for everyone, but I will say that it's a very nice bookend to the start of the film. Yeah. And I absolutely love that about it. I don't know how far we strain into spoilers with the stuff we're given, but it's a very difficult review to give on this one because
I'm going to avoid spoilers and say that there is one point where she is forced to go back to Ireland.
Yes.
And that's where we get introduced to our other character who has been in almost every film this year.
I know,
Donald
right?
Gleeson.
This guy just was in a few films. Remember when he was in Harry Potter? He was in Deathly Hallows Part 2 or something as Bill Weasley. He was just that one guy. And then all of a sudden, this year, he's just made such a resurgence. Well, I guess last year at the point of this recording. But
I have to ask the question, how good is his agent? Seriously.
He is picking his projects phenomenally well. Even... Oh no, I was going to say something stupid. I was going to say in the Heart of the Sea there, but that was his dad.
I have to say, he's been in at least 3 or 4 of the best films of this year.
Ex Machina,
Brooklyn,
he was in
Star
Brooklyn,
Wars.
Star Wars.
Don't you dare say that it wasn't a good film. He's been in a lot.
Yeah, I'm forgetting another one as well. I'm forgetting a major one he was in last year as well. But
he's in Revenant.
Revenant, there you go.
That isn't even out yet, but
no. But his acting and his career is just, again, gonna just... If this is his career this year, what is his career gonna be like in a few, 5 years' time?
Well, I'm looking now, and he's only got 3 projects posted up at the moment, and that's one called Crash Pad, one called Mania, and one... let me just try pronouncing this. Star Wars Episode VIII, or VII. Yeah, VII.
Yeah. But even his character in this, that because it's sort of a romantic movie at heart, it's very easy to sort of just pick an antagonist type character who's, just that horrible, sleazy, not very good guy that the main character probably falls for at some point. But really, there is no sort of evil character in this. Well, maybe apart from the woman that, she works at the shop with at the start. But he again is very believable. He has his sort of own agenda. He has his own goals. He has his own morals and things like that. And he's never really portrayed as a bad guy.
No.
And it sort of falls down to the audience's thoughts on who they prefer, really, out of the two.
I mean, when she goes back to Ireland, she's offered jobs. She's offered this new life with Donald Gleeson's character. And think of everything that went wrong when she was back in Ireland. Think about that being completely the opposite and being perfect. And that's what she's led to.
And I mean, we don't want to go too in-depth into it in exactly what happens at this point, but absolutely, she goes back and it's the most idyllic version of Ireland that she goes back to, which obviously adds a lot of conflict to her. So that's sort of your main cast of characters there. I want to talk about the music in this film.
Beautiful.
Michael Brook does the music. Now, I'm not familiar with any of his previous work. I'm having a look here. He's done a lot of studio and live albums. I'm having a look for soundtracks now to films. Perks of Being a Wallflower, I still haven't seen that movie, so I can't comment on that. He composed a bit of the music with Hans Zimmer for Black Hawk Down and Mission Impossible 2. I've never been familiar with his work, but there is a point in this movie, and I don't know if this is down to the soundtrack, but it's more a guy singing. And I won't give the scene away, but it almost moved me to tears. It was beautifully done, and it was just the look on everyone's faces.
It kept the Irish roots firmly in there.
Yeah.
I saw when I saw the start of the film, I saw Irish Company. I thought, I haven't heard of that company before. I'm not sure what I think about this. Is it going to be an Irish film? Is it going to be words that I don't understand and stuff like that all the way through it? Sorry, any Irish people listening. I do have friends who live in Ireland. I don't understand a single word of what they say.
Disclaimer.
But yeah, it was just like brilliant to keep it down to its roots. Especially at that stage in the film, it needed that.
Yeah, and that's exactly what the character needed as well. So it's so difficult to talk about this one. Shall we just go into like positives, negatives, brief recommendation, then we'll hit spoilers. So Tate, what would you say your main positives of the film were, and any negatives if you have any at all?
Main positives, it is some of the strongest acting we've seen all year. It's a genuine plot that I can get behind. It is a moving film, and it is beautifully shot, beautifully done. Like, everything about this film was really well done. The only thing I would say that was going against it was that it hasn't been given as big of a release as other films such as The Revenant, and it may not get as much acclaim as it should have been allowed to be. It was a very solid film. However, there was at one point in the film, and I always judge films on this, where I did look at my watch.
Yeah.
It was a natural twitch, but I was wondering when the ending was going to be, and maybe it dragged on for a little bit too long. It's only 112 minutes long, but the amount that they get through in that time is a lot, and it feels heavy. You're starting to think, wow, how long have I actually been here for? Maybe not a downside to it, but generally a brilliant film overall.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'll sort of agree with that. Positives, beautifully directed movie. John Crowley's the director. I don't think he's really done much else in terms of films. He's directed a bit of True Detective, I think. I don't know if he's done all of it.
Yeah, I think he's done a couple of episodes.
And then there's a lot of other stuff that I haven't really heard of before. So this is his big major one, and if this does get Oscar clout, then this is going to be great for him as a director. Beautifully shot. The cinematography in this film is absolutely gorgeous, and it has one of the best lead actress performances I've seen in a long time with Saoirse Ronan. Great cast, really nice, heartfelt, genuine story which goes through a lot of emotions as you follow it with the character. And I think it's one that a lot of people can connect with and can feel something for us. So that's a sign of a good movie. Negatives, I will kind of agree with you. It was sort of at the 3/4 mark where I was starting to check my watch a bit. I think it did lose a little bit of momentum, but I think it pulled it back towards the end. That's not a bad thing about the movie. That's not, a
Definitely
massive
not a
criticism.
bad thing, no.
It's still a great film, but I will agree that it did sort of slow down a little bit, and I may have checked my watch at the time. And that's really all I can think of as a negative, really. There's so much good stuff in this movie and themes and everything like that. It's just a very nice, small, independent, like, what was the budget? It was done on a 10 mil budget, and so far it's already made 28.4 back. So it's made a nice, tidy profit for a small film. And I'm sure it'll make more as well when it sort of like hits into the Oscar season and more people start watching it.
Yeah.
So we'll go into spoilers now. So if you haven't seen Brooklyn and you want to see it, shut this review off now. You've basically heard our thoughts on it. If you have, then stick around. We're going to go into a lot more in depth now and sort of go into the plot points that we couldn't talk about all that much. So the main catalyst as to why she goes back to Ireland when her sister dies.
Is that when you teared up?
The bit I teared up at, I guess I can say it now in spoilers, was the bit where she's feeling very homesick and she volunteers at that place with all the old men who from Ireland who like build the bridges and everything like that, and the docks and everything and then that one guy starts singing that old Irish song.
Yeah.
And it's this beautiful tune, and you can see the look on everyone's face, and her as she's remembering Ireland and all the people there and her family, and it was a really, really genuinely moving scene. The only sort of sound in there was the song, no dialogue, just looks on people's faces. I thought that was beautifully done. But the sister dying, it does really come quite out of nowhere. I mean, she's been writing to her sister up until this point in the film, and then she sort of goes, and then right there, I mean, I felt that with the character where she was like, well, her mum's now on her own in Ireland. Does she go back and look after her mum for the end of her days?
And that's what
does she stick to it?
I thought, is she going to get rid of all of her dreams?
Yeah.
And
it is a huge conflict for like if you put yourself in that situation, like what is the right thing to do, but then you also, this almost sounds selfish, but you also do have to think of yourself as well in your own life. So when she goes back, you can see that she misses the funeral first and foremost because she can't get back over there. But when she does go over there, the relationship with the mum is very bizarre. Like, the mum almost wants to keep her there.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
And we should also say at this point that she marries Tony. She has like a sort of secret wedding there. So obviously during the time that this was filmed, any sort of like affair or, you know, divorce or anything like that would have definitely been frowned upon. But it's when the mum's there and she's like, right, you can have like your own perfect life here now. You can have a job. You're with me. Domhnall Gleeson's very dashing and has got a lot going on for him. And that is where I almost started to get pissed off with the mum character in it a bit.
Yeah.
Like, you could sort of understand her, but she becomes really incredibly pushy.
I know that was a very common theme in those times. I don't want to say that like that's how it is nowadays. I don't want to say that that's an Irish thing. But we all know about how families used to be structured, especially when there's no dad there and it's just the mum living on her own. And especially when they already had the foundations of other families saying, oh, once you get married, you'll be looking after the mother, and the mother will be looking after the mother, the mother will be looking after the mother. And as soon as she went back, I immediately thought she's going to get dragged back into it.
Yeah.
She's going to hate it.
She tells herself that, and I think Tony brings that up as well, doesn't he? He says, like, am I actually going to see you again, or are you going to plan on staying over there? And she's like, oh, I'll only be over there a few weeks.
Oh, that's...
And then weeks
famous last words,
months.
Yeah.
Yeah, and...
But it's more the fact that when she gets over there, she realises that she loves it, and she knows that she has to go back home, and she starts ignoring the messages from Tony because she knows that, like, it is paining her to make that decision. And what do people do when they don't want to make a decision? They ignore
bury
it.
their heads in the sand. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's heartbreaking, like, when it cuts back to Tony and his little brother in this film is one of my favourite characters as well. Like, the mischievous little brother around the table.
We don't like Irish.
He's always causing shit at the table when, like,
I'm an idiot.
To the family. And he's the only one who can read and write as well. He's the only one of the family who's had like a proper education. And it's Tony saying, I don't know if I'm writing things correctly, if she's getting the messages, if she can understand them, could you write one to her? And it's where she sort of gets it, looks at it, and just throws it aside. And it was really frustrating. Like, I felt really bad for Tony in that situation.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I think she even gets to a stage herself where she is accepting her Irish life again.
Yeah, and I felt bad for Domhnall Gleeson's character as well.
Yeah.
Because they are both good guys. Like, in this film, they are both very nice to her. They treat her well. They don't, like, abuse her or anything like that. Like, there is nothing to hate about either of these characters. However, I did feel slightly more of a hatred towards Domhnall Gleeson's character, as we really only got introduced to him about the hour and 10 mark.
Yeah.
And you think, well, no, she's going to go back to Brooklyn. That's the only thing that she can do. And then starts to gain a relationship, and you think, what are you doing? I know that he's a nice guy, but you need to go back to Brooklyn. And then every single time it develops, I was like, God damn it, go back to Brooklyn. Why won't you go back to Brooklyn?
Yeah, definitely. And it's sort of, they're from Tony and Domhnall Gleeson's character. What is his name? I'm going to check now because I keep calling him Donald. Jim. Yeah. So Tony and Jim do come from two very different walks of life. I mean, Tony's the very sort of blue collar worker kind of guy. I think he's a plumber in the film, isn't he?
Yeah.
And you know, he's working hard. I think he says that he's working with his brother. They want to set up some kind of business and they get a house built and everything like that. Whereas Jim,
like, I want to say rich.
Yeah, he's like silver spoon sort of inheritance kind of thing, isn't it? Like, I think his parents were saying that they're moving away and leaving this glorious mansion home exclusively to him. So he's got it all sort of like handed to him right there, and that's what they're sort of saying. Like, they keep saying to her, like, they don't, like, the family and the people on the street and her mum, they don't care about him as a person, really. It was all sort of about status, like, oh, he's got a fancy house. Oh, he's, you know, making a name for himself. He comes from a well-to-do family. That's what it was all about at those times. And you can see that she's gravitating towards that line of thinking, but again, she's a very independent thinker. She wants more. she wants someone who she can actually love, which is Tony. And then she realizes that towards the end of the film, which is the reason why she decides to head back. And that was a very nice moment when she says, "I'm going back to Brooklyn." I was like, oh, thank God.
So was I. It was a sigh of relief almost. And something that I loved about this film was throughout the entire film, the pacing was spot on. All the way through the film, the slow build of the relationship, it took a long time and a long part of the film. And then there's almost fast, I wouldn't say rapid, but the quicker response when she's with Jim as a character, when she got back to Ireland, they connected almost immediately.
Yeah.
That was almost immediate, and they started to get to know each other a lot quicker. They got along a lot quicker, and that was a very great kind of parallel to have. But the ending itself, it is a very, very quick ending, and there is a reason behind that. Because the decision that she makes throughout the entire film is a very slow decision. It's very hard to get over. And then just like that, at the end, she makes that very quick decision to go back to Brooklyn. And that means that everything is rushed. Absolutely everything at that point is rushed. And people are saying, oh, it's lazy and stuff like that. No, that is perfect. That perfectly paces the film. Like, if they made a quick decision to go back to Ireland and then spent half an hour of her trying to say goodbye to everyone, wouldn't make any sense.
No.
If she says, I'm leaving, packs her bags, and then is gone within 5 minutes, that makes more sense. And it was very well done at that point.
Yeah, and that leads to one of my favourite scenes in the film where she sits down with her mum, and her mum, again, is being very pushy, and she basically says,
I'm married.
I'm married, and it's that look on the mum's face.
Yeah, and she says, I don't want to see you again, basically.
Yeah, but also she goes, is he nice? And she goes, yes, Mum, he is. And she says, he would have to be nice if he was, to have you as a wife, something like that, which is a really nice line that she gives. And she says that, I'm leaving tomorrow. And the mum says, well, I'm going up to bed in a minute. I'm going to say bye to you now. And she's like, oh, don't be like that. And she goes, no, this will be the last time that I say bye to you. And she just hugs her and then goes upstairs, and that's it. And it's a very sort of bittersweet farewell to the mother, but I think the mum realizes that she's not going to change her daughter's mind. The daughter knows that this is what she wants for her own life, and it does leave it in a sort of depressing and melancholy state for the fate of the mother. She's going to be alone there in Ireland. She probably won't see her daughter again, and I think that's pretty much stated in their final conversation. But it's a tough life decision, that's what it has to come down to sometimes in life. She is thinking about her own life, which some may find very selfish, but I guess that depends on sort of your own perception of where you fall in this film, whether you side with the mother or you side with the daughter.
It's very difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, oh man, I wouldn't want to be in any of those situations put in a film, I'm not going to lie. And it's when a film puts you in that situation where you can go, I don't want to be in that situation. Yeah. Then it's just brilliantly done.
And then the ending, as I sort of alluded to earlier, it bookends the start, where at the start she's the naive one. She sort of befriends this woman who had come back from Brooklyn to Ireland and then was then heading back. And
I did like the opening scene on the ship.
Yeah, I love that as well. If I'm going to give one negative, the green screen looked quite bad in that part.
Yeah.
It was the very sort of overexposed. Yeah,
so if they were given a bigger budget, then.
But I loved that relationship with that friendship she has with that woman at the start, and then it is ended very abruptly, which again is believable. If you ever go on holiday somewhere and you meet some cool people, it's very rarely that you'll ever see them again. It's that sort of moment. She sort of trains her up, tells her what she can expect.
Yeah,
and I don't know what point it was, but I sort of did think that I wonder if this is going to end in the same place that it began, where she was saying I should never have left Brooklyn at the start, and then as you go through the film you think this is probably how it's going to end, and it does end very nicely. It's almost word for word the start, which may have been a bit too on the nose. I think they could have reworked the script.
I reckon passing on the same kind of information that she was given, being put back in those shoes, but this time being the person going back and saying, look, I've been through this before and I want to help you as someone helped me. And I think that's a brilliant reflection on how far she has come in the film.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have no problem with that.
So Brooklyn 2, we follow in the footsteps of the new naive woman who arrives in Brooklyn.
But this time it's the 1960s. And
oh, I can't wait until we get to like the fourth one where we get one set in the 80s. But I think I've pretty much said everything I can on this movie. It's just a really, really beautifully done drama piece.
Well put together,
They're not the sort of films I gravitate towards, but if we're going to sort of like give Oscar predictions now, like very briefly.
Okay, are you ready for mine?
Yeah, go for it.
I reckon definite nomination for lead actress, possibly win. So we got our first possible Oscar winner. It'll be nominated for best films, and I've got to say here, when it was screened at Cannes, it was one of the only films there to get a complete standing ovation. That means not one person sat down. And that shows with critics, and especially when people who go to Cannes are usually the people who vote on these films.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say, I reckon this is odds-on favourite to win Best Picture. And that's hard for me to say, because I know that I haven't seen Revenant yet, and I really want to. But I reckon it might nab it. People will see it as the safe bet, but after watching this film, you'll know it really isn't the safe bet. It completely deserves it. I feel like cinematography will get a nomination, but won't get a win. Adapted screenplay?
Yeah,
maybe. Could get that. If it gets Best Picture, it's definitely getting Best Adapted Screenplay. Direction, yes, nomination. Maybe not a win, but it'll definitely get a nomination. And then I reckon a nomination for lead supporting actress in Julie Walters.
Yeah. And I think I agree with all of those choices, to be honest. Usually with these Oscar films where they get so much hype and then you get round to watching them and you sort of think like, I don't really get what all the hype's about. If this did win Best Picture, I'd be completely fine with that. Like, I can see all its merits. It is a beautiful movie and I would have nothing against it if it did win.
It feels like an old school Best Picture win, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, absolutely. And like the other nominations you were saying there, I would love to see Julie Walters get it. Out of everyone, I really want to see. Oh my god, actress's name gone out of my head. Steve Jobs. Oh my god. Oh, Kate Winslet.
Kate Winslet, yeah.
Yeah, she was very good as. Oh, it's so tough.
It's a tough
year. They're both great performances.
It's a very tough year.
But I absolutely agree that I think that Brooklyn could be the underdog of this year's Oscars. I think it could just like sweep the board of like, you know, Best Picture. I definitely think that the director will get a mention as well. I don't think he'll win it. I think that will probably go to the one who directed Revenant. His name escapes me at the moment. But yeah, I would like to see this win stuff, and hopefully when it gets sort of like more hype towards the Oscars, more people will go out and see this. Hopefully the name will get out there more, because obviously like when you mentioned it, I was like, what? Like, what's this movie? But I'd like to see these smaller movies sort of like grow and get more of an audience, and I think that this one definitely deserves it. Yeah. So that was our review for Brooklyn. Be sure to let us know what you thought of the movie. So comment below and let us know what you thought of it. You can follow us at facebook.com/cinemasavvy. On Twitter at cinema_savvy, and also at Letterboxd at cinema_savvy as well. Get involved with the channel. We are going to be bringing you many more reviews coming up in the next few days and weeks as we push towards Oscar season. We've talked about it before, but I think that we are sort of pretty much dead set on the idea of doing a live stream when the Oscars are taking place. Until then, we have a lot of films to get watched. Bank accounts getting hit very hard with all these trips to the cinema, but it's all worth it. And that Revenant, though, oh my god, it's almost here.
I'm excited.
It's almost here.
Very excited.
So yeah, stick around with the channel as we push forward towards Oscar season. Let us know some of your predictions as well. And until the next review, thank you very much for listening.